may want to pack away your flip-flops. You want to keep your gardening tools close because our celebrity gardener, Dennis Flanagan, joins us now to give us all some great tips on this is the work season for gardeners.
Yes, it is. And what scares me the most is you get this little bit of cold weather and everyone panics and says, that's it, the gardening season's over. But true gardeners know that this is the best season over the next 4 to 6 weeks.
I love this time of year. This is the time of year when I'm waiting for my order of bulbs to come in. And last year, because we just moved into we moved into our new house 2 years ago. And I had to wait, though, because I didn't know what was in the garden. So I had to wait for a whole year to see what would come up. Not one bulb. So I planted 400 last October, and they all came up. But I took a lot of time. I got a very sore hand because I cut chicken wire squares to put over the bulbs to protect them from the numerous squirrels. Is there something easier to protect your bulbs?
No, you're a smart lady. That's the true tested way to do it. All the great gardens in the world do that same method. Some people actually, and people laugh at them because they buy extra bulbs when they're buying bulbs, and they'll cut them in half and spray them with something that the squirrels don't like, something like Tabasco sauce, and leave them on top of the ground. So nosy little squirrels come along, pick it up. They always lick the bulb before they take it off.
Wow!
I don't like this garden. What are these? What are these guys planting? So that works. But chicken wire, great.
Now, sticking with chickens, I've also heard that if you put a layer of chicken manure over it, that works.
Yeah, anything that repels because of smell and taste, and the smell thing doesn't work quite as well with squirrels. The taste thing, because they love to. The saying is that they actually lick it because that's how they find the bulb next year. They can actually detect the bulb from their own saliva, actually. So that's why they lick them.
One of the other things I wanted to check was somebody told me that I only need to leave the chicken wire there for the first year, as in I could remove it now because the smell of the whatever attracts them is gone. Is that true? Before I take it away?
Yeah, I don't think it's as much the smell. It's the fact that the bulbs have rooted and they've got an anchor in the ground now, so it's much more difficult for the squirrels to get them out. When you first plant them, they go, wow, this is great.
Yummy, yeah.
Here's a little breakfast cereal. So I think that's the issue, is once they've rooted, once they're down there, they're much harder to dig up. Yeah.
What is the time frame for planting bulbs, and does it vary from province to province?
Yeah, very much so, Christine. Yeah, it's to do with the depth of frost. But the confusing thing for particularly new gardeners is there's air temperature and there's soil temperature, which are totally different things. So we're getting some chilly temperatures now across the country, and people might think, ooh, too late for gardening. But actually, if you dig down way into mid-December, certainly in eastern Canada, the soil is really still very, very warm, 2-3 feet down. And that's what we're aiming for, is the soil temperature, not the air temperature. So.
But are we planting bulbs 3 feet down?
No, but that radiant heat is what comes up out of the ground and makes those bulbs, helps them to settle their roots in and actually take root. So we've all been in the situation where we've sort of bought bulbs, got busy, haven't had time, and I really have planted bulbs in after the snowfall, scraped the snow off and dug down, because that soil temperature stays.
So for a new gardener, how would you measure that? How would you make that decision?
Oh, listen to you guys on the radio. I think that would be the way.
Oh, okay. So we're gonna come on. It's November 2nd.
That's
if you're
right.
in PEI, you can stop planting.
No, I think literally you can dig down and feel the warmth. But to be safe, I think you're not going to go beyond mid-October, late October. That's probably as the leaves change. Yeah.
Okay. What else is important about preparing the bed for bulbs?
Very good drainage. Okay, so some provinces have clay soils. Certain parts of Ontario, and that's not great for bulbs, because what happens is the moisture sits in the ground. it gets frozen, and it can rot the bulbs. So the biggest failure with bulbs tends to be when you dig them up and they've all gone mushy, and that usually is that the ground's too wet. So drainage is number one. If you have a heavy, thick clay soil, putting in sand, compost, anything that just will open up that soil and give good drainage. That's number one. Nutrition is the second thing. Bone meal is still probably the number one fertilizer to add when you're planting bulbs, and your own compost mix, or many of the cities, as you know, supply compost. So getting that, there's a term in gardening called friable soil, which means
crumbly, right?
Crumbly soil, and that's what bulbs need. They need to get those roots out to anchor themselves, and then they're a much stronger plant. So those things, and drainage and fertilizer. Yeah.
Another question I have is, on the instructions it will tell you that you plant a bulb 3 inches, 6 inches, however far away from another bulb.
Yeah.
And I've done that, and should people listen to that? Because I've found then you've got these lonely little things that come up, and you want this fabulous garden. So you've got this picture painted in your mind, and you've got the diagram, which I used to do, and I'm sure Kate did too, where you've got this and this and this.
Yeah.
And do you listen to that?
No, I don't. To throw those tape measures away when you're planting bulbs. Bulbs are, unless you're doing very formal gardens, that's a totally different subject. But most bulbs love to be naturalized. And to me, the advice that I always give is pick the place that you're going to plant bulbs, take a bushel basket full of bulbs, and actually turn your back to where you're actually planting the bulbs, and throw all the bulbs over your head. And wherever they lay, wherever they sit, that's where you plant them. Because if you start then moving them around and measuring, nature doesn't work that way. So throw them over your head, wherever they land. And as regards the depth measurement, really the thing to remember is 3 times the size of the bulb. So it doesn't matter whether it's a tiny little muscari, a little crocus, or a great big allium. It's 3 times the size of the bulb is how far you deep it.
But if you throw it over your shoulder, you still have to turn around and then turn it right side up.
Pointy side up.
Pointy side up, right?
Yeah, ideally. Bulbs are clever, you know.
Are you telling me you don't have to do that? Are we doing all this work for nothing?
If I was planting, like Kate did, 400 bulbs, and they were all 400 tiny crocus or muscaris, no, I wouldn't be making sure every tiny little bulb.
Just be pitching them. They are very smart. They even, I tend to plant mine, I dig the deep hole, and I put the bone meal down, and I put the bulbs in, but I do them sort of in odd numbers, like 5, 7, 9, in one big patch, so that you get sort of a patch. But now some people they call it the river. They want to do the river look.
Yes, that was made very famous by a great gardener called James van Sweden from Holland, and he had this naturalizing effect with native grasses, ornamental grasses, and bulbs. Beautiful effect. The other thing that people might want to try is what's called the lasagna effect.
Okay.
So as you know, I mean, there's different bulbs that come up at different times and different sizes. So the lasagna effect means that you're planting bulbs in layers on top of each other, so that you've got, crocus at the top, daffodils, tulips, alliums. So you're actually planting them on top of each other. Works great in containers. And so what you have is 5 to 6 weeks of sequencing in the springtime. So they come up, and as the top ones are dying down, the middle layers coming up, and then the bottom layer. It's a very clever effect.